Transition. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Let me jump through the chat real quick and say, Dana Maggiore, good morning. You've got the honor of being first with a close second of Aimless Adventures. Good morning. Rob Huff, how's it going? Matthew at Aimless, poor man. We got Speargrass Forge. He can't stay, but, good morning anyway. Curtis and Mr. Donut, First Degree Forge is in the house. Keith, whatever. How you doing, man? Wayne Heights, Boar to Gov, Noah McGrath. Well, I'm caught up. I don't have the millions of people that jump in my streams like I do have like my guest does. Hey, Tina. Hey, Robert. Speaking of guests, this has been a long time coming. Me and Roy, good internet buddies here, and I've got him. He begged me, like hand over foot, begged me. He's like, please, 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 you're so popular. Let me please be on your stream. I need this. I need the. He's laughing in my ear. Here we go. Roy Adams, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Shane Lalonde. Special guest today, Roy. As most of you know, me and Roy have competing YouTube channels where he gains a subscriber, I lose a subscriber. I gain a subscriber, he loses 50 subscribers. No, I'm just kidding. Just a bit of that fun back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Brandon, Drayson. Yeah.
Yep.
So, how you doing today, Roy?
What's the rules of etiquette on this? Does the audio switch right away, or do you have to be old octopus fingers like Jessica?
No, actually, with the NDI source, we can talk over each other. It's the same. It does all of that stuff automatically. I don't gotta. You can interrupt me all you want.
Good. That, I can talk over just about anyone, so that'll work out just fine for me.
Just a little disclaimer, because I know sometimes I feel bad, especially in your live streams when I start joking, getting goofy and joking around, or when I talk about it. I have a very self-depreciating, irreverent towards myself sense of humor, but it's kind of weird, where I know I've only got, shy over 2,000 subscribers, whereas Roy's got, close to 700,000 million subscribers. I don't have any delusions that, I'm a better smith or YouTuber than Roy, but it's that back and forth joking around that I love, and Roy gets it. Got a super poop from Aimless.
Yeah, well,
a super poop sticker.
Hooray for super poop
from Aimless. Thank you very much, Matthew. Good morning, Eric.
No. I mean, delusions of grandeur can be a good thing, though, Yamas. I mean, delusions of grandeur is what my channel is made of. So.
Mine too. Neil Graham, Augie, how you guys doing? He's on the coffee already. James Jones, good morning.
Always on the coffee.
So yeah, it's like this is one of those so rare occasions, Roy. I know when you do your live streams, you're, and I know through discussion with you, this is something you're really trying to remedy, but you're so detached from the chat. Thankfully, you have Jess there to be the producer and relay messages, as they come in. This is one of those rare opportunities where you can both see the chat and have your hands aren't all busy, and you can actually interact with the community. I know you've done a few of them, but yeah, it's fun for you because you get to sit down and not do much and just chit chat, see what everybody else is up to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I enjoy the personable aspects of it. I mean, I love presenting, I love teaching, of course, but to be able to sit and actually talk with everyone, I like that as well. Um, I have found that on the channel, though, unfortunately, a lot of just your talking streams when about giving something away, there's not as much of attendance, and then YouTube kind of docks the next stream as far as notifications goes for my channel anyhow. So I try to keep it. I try to keep it on the forging end of things, for the regular live
Yeah,
streams.
and that's
When I can, but it's still kind of one of those things. I'm okay with taking the hit from time to time, just because I'm like, you know what? I just need to jaw with people for a little bit and see what everyone's been up to. So this is kind of nice.
That's a great point. It's like you got to keep the attention if they're there for forging, as a channel. That's what you got to show.
Mm-hmm.
I too love interacting, with everybody. That's why I'm trying to do this. Where, by the way, it's Roy's not just on the channel because he's a big shot, YouTuber, elevated so far above. Anybody
Yeah.
during these Sunday streams, it's about the community. It's chatting with the community about the community. So any of you guys who would also like to be on the streams, contact me. I put my Skype information out there, and you can be on the stream and chit chat. Like, hey, Ethan Phillips, how you doing? Craig L.R.J. Jardine, Shamrock Forge. Aimless question. I've heard you can get steel up to welding temps and brush it to get imitate rod. Is this even feasible? You're putting like scratch marks on it, I'm assuming, is what you're saying. Roy, that'd be a question for you. It's like imitation wrought iron by bringing steel up to welding heat and then brushing it hard with a bristle brush. Do you think that would give a nice gouge in it to get an imitated wrought iron look?
If you brushed it hard enough, possibly. Maybe with a wire cup wheel on an angle grinder and brushed it that way, you might. It really depends on how granular you're trying to look at it. I mean, if it's from a distance, it's just going to look like a plain bar of steel. If you're gonna get up close to it, if it's like a fine piece, like a jewelry piece, yeah, I mean, you could add scratches intentionally to it. You can get a scraper, like a scraper tool. I have a video where I forged a real simple blacksmith scraper tool instead of a wire brush, because they used to not use wire brushes. That's a fairly new thing as of 19th century. But before then, they actually just used either the edge of their anvil to scrape off any scale, or they would use a scraper tool, just like a little scraper. And so you could possibly do that at a high temperature and create a synthetic wrought iron look, potentially.
Yeah, so the idea of making the face of the steel have a grain without etching it, so yeah.
Another way to do that too is to develop a special hammer, kind of think of like a meat tenderizer hammer, but just with all the lines going one direction, and no cross hatching. And then you could just beat that into the steel and then smooth everything off with a regular hand hammer afterwards. And then that would give it a good imitation look as well.
That's kind of what I do with my with my roses. I have a really sharp straight peen and cross peen that I use. And I took a piece of flat bar 4140 and my angle grinder, and I just went, ham nuts on it, cutting a bunch of lines, and then I hardened it and tossed a hard shank on it. And, when I'm doing a rose blank, taking the blanks, it's like I'll, cold, of course, I'll just take and tap, 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 and it does both sides, and it gives it that real natural veiny look. But yeah,
Yep.
so sure, I'm assuming you can get a wrought iron texture, you know, in any steel if you work hard enough at it. Looks like I got a $10 super chat from James Jones. How's your power hammer coming? Roy,
Everybody drop in them Christmas clappy hands for
give
me
the
real
Christmas
quick,
clap.
because
Thank you very much,
I
James.
can't do that currently.
No, Roy is muted on the chat because he's on his phone instead of being able to type with his phone. So, the power hammer, I showed it last night in my stream a little bit. Actually, if things go as good as I hope, over the next couple of days, I should be able to get over to the mechanic to get my tie rod end fixed, which I had spoken to him last time I was there, and he's interested in the power hammer build. He told me when I get ready to attach the wheel weldment to the rim, to bring it over there, he'll check out the tire, pop it, possibly weld the wheel weldment on, and then do his magic to make the wheel full of air. So I have not wanted to bring it over there without the money to also get my tie rod end, fixed, because then it's just me bringing over a side project for him instead of a, hey, while I'm here. So once that gets done, I can mount the wheel, weld a few pieces together, and then from there on out, it's the motor mount and all the mechanicals that make it move, make the motor mount move, and then it's a motor and a wheel, or motor and a drive wheel, probably the last two things I'll need to buy, and then it's just tightening everything up and welding on any braces, brackets, or what have yous, and it should be rolling in gold. What's up, Daniel Crawford?
That you're gonna really enjoy that. I've used multiple tire hammers, different designs. I've actually used the original Clay Spencer, Roy Klontz
That's
design,
the exact one I'm building.
tire hammer, and Clay Spencer. A lot of little history on that. Roy Klontz was the original kind of designer of the tire hammer, and coming up with that concept in its orientation that it is currently. There's been other smiths who've used tires to a different degree with like helve hammers before, but Roy Klontz turned it into that overhead, like the little giant type tire hammer, and then Clay Spencer built upon that, and because Clay Spencer is both mechanical and an electrical engineer, so he went in deep dive into the design and kind of perfected it over time, and that's where the drawings or the plans came out of. And so Clay, like, I've got to use his Clay Spencer's personal hammer that he uses, and yeah, that thing's a sweet running hammer. In fact, I prefer it over a little giant.
Yeah,
so you're going to be
very happy,
super ecstatic to have it up and running.
I'd like to take a moment and say, hey, Tim, how you doing, brother? Glad to have you.
Hey, Tim.
Always good to see you in the chat. I know you're a busy person. Yeah. We've got Roy here, and next week if I have a guest, I have no idea who it could be. It could be one of you. Morning, Dan. Yeah. Keith says, I think I found Roy's channel looking at power hammer stuff. I don't think I've seen Roy do a power hammer video other than, the promotional one for the plans for your drop hammer, or your, not drop hammer, beam hammer, or your...
Oh, I've got a ton of power hammer videos.
I gotta take a deep dive.
Not forging, but a lot of different plans I've created around power hammers, home built stuff. So back in the earlier days of my YouTube journey.
You know what? speaking of old videos and such in the community, I'm so far behind. I really need to do a deep dive into, just take a day, set a day, and what are you doing today? Watching YouTube videos. Which ones? All of them. And go through. It's like, I know Paul Fontanini of Carnage Creations does a lot of videos, and most of you guys in the chat do videos. So I really need to do a deep dive so that I can get back in touch. I've been so busy, I'm out of touch.
Well, on my channel, Yamez, you're going to have to pick a particular topic and do a deep dive there, because there's one too many videos.
Yeah, well, no, that's what I do regularly. Like,
you'll lose your soul before you're done with them.
That's what I do regularly, and I try to tell people this. What I do regularly with the community videos and everything, it's like, if it's a community, challenge going around, I'll try and watch them all. Or if it's hey, mail call from this, I try to watch it. But as for a video on a specific topic, I more watch a video on a topic if that's something that I'm actively working on. Like, I know how to make, for example, I know how to make horseshoe hearts, but before my stream last night, where I was making horseshoe hearts, I watched about 8 different videos on making horseshoe hearts, just a refresher, just to see the different techniques that people use, and was playing with it. As for topical videos of a how-to a certain thing, that's why I like to see so many different smiths do so many different videos on so many different things, because, one person's technique, even if it's so similar to another person, you may see something that they do that goes, oh, that's more comfortable on my arm, shoulder, or in my positioning of this, that, or the other thing, I'd like to take a second and say again, good morning to Amber. Amber Steve, how you doing? Wiley Rooks, how you doing, man? Mule Kick, good morning. Mr. Pekka, how's it going?
Good morning, everybody, by the way. I don't know if I said that at the beginning of this stream, but yes, good morning to everyone. Good to see you here. And I also didn't say hey to Tim, but hello, Tim. Good to have you in the stream. Big dog.
Yeah. So trying to read some of these to see if any of them are questions for the community. They're discussing amongst themselves.
I will let you know on mine. I got them up on the TV there, and on mine I'm actually seeing the chat. It's funny. I'm hearing you, but then I'm seeing the chat like 30 seconds later. So that's kind of like,
that's about the.
If it looks like I'm on delay, that's me.
That's about the set delay. I've got it set for low latency, so that there's a clear stream. What we discuss, and then we'll see in the chat about 15 seconds later. Here's a good question. Amber Steve. I call him Amber Steve because it's Steve, and he uses his wife's account to chat. He says, what would be a good top for my coal forge, like thickness? Somebody was asking this in your stream on Friday, and I tried to stop and get somebody to clarify, because I think what he was asking was fire pot thickness, and you said thin, and it's like wait, fire pot, because I've seen people try and make fire pots out of really thin material, and it's like, oh, I'll just coat it in refractory. It's like, get yourself a little bit of a thicker, don't go a gauge, go a measurement. So it's like,
I think I answered it in two different ways. It came up in question about I thought he was meaning fire pot, and I mentioned 1/2-inch plate for fire pot thickness. But if you're talking about just the body itself, again, I didn't get the full question, but if you talk about the body itself, you could go with a thin gauge thickness, because you're not doing any of your burning there. But that's I wasn't real clear on just saying, hey, what would you do for a forge?
Well, he did
You
say forged
can't
body in the
necessarily answer
chat, but
that.
I was
So.
unsure, reading it as a moderator because I was in and out, not in and out of the chat, but like I was doing a whole bunch of different things that night. But so yeah, tabletop, like Roy said, it's like as long as it's some non-burn, it can be. Mine's 1/8 inch, I think. You know, things like your
Yeah.
tabletop. A lawnmower deck is just gauged sheet steel. I think that's like a sixteenth of an inch thick, and people use that. The fire pot is where the heat is. The rest of it, you just don't want it to burn. You know.
Now I've also seen forges, even more like older forges, made out of really thin material, say like 10 or 12 gauge material. That's 10 gauge is slightly larger than 1/8 inch, and 12 gauge is under
Mhm.
1/8 inch thick material. And I have seen people make fire pots out of that, but it's lined
Yeah,
with
if you
clay.
line it with
Like it's like at least, I mean, the fire pot's huge because they're lining it with like a good inch and a half
at that
of
point it's
clay
just
as the actual pot. So it's just there to hold the clay, so to speak.
I got a
So
question for you from Rob Huff. Question for Roy. Lower grade rod,
yeah.
half-inch stock, trying to get fine points has been a struggle between burning and splitting. Same here. Any suggestions? So for keeping the points from splitting.
So so it's pretty coarse grain.
Yeah, that's
Is that what he's saying? Or fine grain?
Low grade rod. So yeah, that'd be very coarse grain.
Okay. For like doing points and things like that, I would suggest that you upset the material first and then drive down a point. And by doing so, what you're doing is you're giving yourself more mass to then refine down into a finer
So
grain right on the
just
end.
refine that point, because if he I believe he's continuing in his in the chat discussing it. He wants. Oh, by the way, hi Ben, hi Holler. He wants to keep the grain look, but I think that yeah, you're on the point there where, no pun intended, where the very point, if you refine that point so that it's doesn't split and keep the grain the rest of the way, is probably the best.
Yeah.
Best route. Put more.
The other option with really coarse grain, wrought iron is to bring it up to a full welding heat. And I'm talking that white smoky heat that, it gets where it's just simmering and hot, and then work it down, and don't work it down past, a bright lemon yellow, and then put it back. That's the only other way to work with it. But if you're trying to draw out small details from, like a nice fine point on something that's, is coarse or low grade wrought iron, you're going to need to upset the piece so you have enough mass that you can refine the end of it. So this way, once it gets drawn out, it'll be a much finer grade wrought iron.
Yeah, he's talking for his. I'm assuming that the stem part of his Blacksmith family tree leaf, which Roy, I know you've heard about, and I know you're busy, and I know that's probably in your queue, but yeah, I'm sure you've heard of the Blacksmith family tree project going around that a bunch of the guys are all working on, and I will get to my leaf.
I've heard about it. It's in my queue definitely to do. It's probably going to be maybe more towards the spring, right up until about the week before Christmas. I'm slammed usually, and I already am slammed basically until the week up till Christmas. And then after that, it like dies off till the first, beyond the first of the year until about May for me. And I just got done clearing some pretty big commission pieces, so that was good. I've got two hammer orders I'm working on that I've been working on for a year that I'm trying to get done by Christmas.
Yeah.
So I got to stay on those projects just yet, but I want to do the leaf right if I'm going to do it for the tree. I mean, I could throw something in and just do a one heat leaf or something, but it'd be nice to add something, good
Let's take
looking.
some bets, guys. We all know Roy. I said Roy has a love affair with acanthus leaves. You know, how much you guys want to bet he's going to do an acanthus leaf for this leaf?
Great. Now I
No,
can't do an
do
acanthus.
it, do it, do it. You do a beautiful acanthus. Um, Good morning, Mr. Maker. Good morning, Mr. Black Collar Ironworks. Popping in with a $10 super chat. Thank you, brother. As Roy would say, everybody give the Christmas clap. Thank you very much, Michael.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Good to have you.
Um, yeah. So now we know that Rob Huff's nickname is Rib. So I think he just found his name for his Forge Works. Rib Forge Works. Yeah, focus on barbecue tools, Rob.
Yeah.
But yeah, the leaf project. I'm very likely gonna end up doing something along the lines of a palm tree leaf. But there's so many different types of palm trees. There's the fan palms, which have a beautiful frond. A palm leaf is a very boring leaf. You can do a single palm leaf out of a piece of angle iron, and that's it. Like it's just a straight, narrow leaf. So what I would probably be doing is something along the lines of a palm frond, to give it more character and
Hmm.
depth, instead of making it look like a big blade of grass.
I had a thought on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
on
that?
oh man, this would be a good one. Do like a pair of palm fronds with a coconut at the end of them,
I could.
or a couple little coconuts at the
That would be
base.
a dream to do. Um, the trick is I've got to keep it within that 3 inches, so that it's small enough to be keychain sizes, like what they say. Um, and I am
Yeah.
very. I need to work on my small forging, but I like where you're going with that.
Yeah.
Um, Let me see. Keith Whatever has a question, and this is one that's
Yeah.
asked by beginner smiths all the time. Um, and Keith, by the way, if you didn't know, Roy, just I think this past week built his first forge, and he's been anguishing in his mind for like nearly a month now on how to set up a forge so he can get started. He's been in the chats for quite a while now, and just this past week built on recommendation from several of us, built his first dirt box forge using charcoal, I believe, and
Cool.
just now started getting forging. And he asks,
Awesome.
what would be a good starting hammer weight? I realize it's probably dependent on me more, but looking for a range to work my strength and control. 3 pounds seems heavy at the moment. Let me go because I know what Roy's going to say. And I want to show that I know things too. I smart.
I must say 9 pounds.
9 pounds. Gotta be 9 pounds.
9 pounds. That's it. If it's not 9 pounds, you're not really a smith.
All right, man. Keith, there's a reason that when I make hammers to sell, I, aside from a few here and there, I typically make a 2 pound hammer. I aim for 2 pounds or less, because in my opinion, a lighter weight hammer, even not so much as a starting hammer, but my daily driver is 2 pounds. I think almost exactly with the handle. It's like 2 pounds 2 ounces. Is the hammer that I use 90% of the time. Because and with a slightly long handle, I know that the one that I sent you, Roy, last year had a real short handle, and you kind of reminded me why a longer handle was, better. It's like you have the better range of where you want to hold it. And it gives you that, it's light enough that you can whip it and get that velocity strike going, instead of a heavier hammer where you lose a bit of the control because you've got to basically hold it and smash. So in my experience and opinion is, you know, a lighter hammer, 2 pounds or less. Now I hand this over to Roy. Go ahead, Roy.
Yeah, no, 9 pounds or
9
more.
pounds or
9
more.
pounds or more. I'm gonna be devil's advocate. No, no. Generally, I recommend no more than a 2-pound hammer when you first getting started out. And I think the other tendency of all beginners and just about every smith, until you kind of find yourself in smithing and kind of find a groove with a hammer that works for you and stuff like that, is there's this tendency to try to go too quick, too soon. You're trying to pick up speed versus accuracy. And so therefore that has a tendency to run towards larger hammers because, well, when you womp something with a bigger hammer, you see more material get moved, right, on the onset, but you're less accurate with that large hammer. If you try to swing, a 2-foot diameter mallet, at a nail, sure, you're going to hit the nail, but are you hitting the nail where you want to hit the nail at? Are you actually hitting the nail on the head? Is it in the center of that hammer? Is it on the side? You don't really know. So I recommend a smaller, lighter hammer. Get your grip right. Get your stance right. Your hammer control and accuracy down pat. And then if you feel the need that you can move up to, say, a larger hammer, and that feels more comfortable for you, then you can move up to a larger hammer. But it's going to take time. What we do as blacksmiths is a very physical craft and trade. I know I make things look easy at the anvil, and I'm not trying to be facetious with saying that, but I do. It just comes from time, right? It comes time. I can swing a hammer for a 12-hour day.
Right.
So, but that's just not possible when you're just getting started out. But that's because I have moved a lot of steel over a decade plus of doing this. So and then as you get older, you're not going to be swinging a hammer for 12 hours a day. That's going to get reduced as you go. So you kind of have your peak,
Yeah.
and then you start on the decline. And if you watch a lot of older smiths, a lot of times they just start declining down. Even if they were using big hammers, as their career progresses, they start using lighter and lighter hammers and more power equipment to do the heavy lifting of the forging.
No.
So I recommend a 2-pound hammer or lighter for a
Now,
beginner.
I'll take a moment and say hello to some people. Mr. Coffee, John Coffee, the squad father himself, popped in. Hello, good sir. Hope everything's going well over at Hans's. Drayson, I may try and forge a coconut, may try and do a pipe coconut, just thinking about that. Bryson, Alden, and Christopher Fay. How you guys doing, man? Aaron Dennis popped in. Niels Ogren popped in. How you doing, Niels? Now, on the if I may just briefly touch on larger hammers. Now, Brian Brazil does have a technique and method for using like 4 to 8 pound hammers as a main forging hammer. He does use strikers a lot, or like two-person forging a lot. How his technique is choking up on a handle and just lift and drop, with like doing it that way. It is a valid technique, okay. And if you watch his videos and you watch him forge, it does get the job done. He's very fantastic smith, but it's the two schools of thought, velocity versus mass, and in my opinion, and I'm sure it was Roy's opinion as well, not to put words in his brain case, for a beginner, it would both be cheaper and easier to get started with a smaller hammer. Um, so, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So to kind of pair it on, to kind of copy onto that, I have actually got to spend a good amount of time with Brian Brazil at one of my last classes that I was teaching down in Goshen, Ohio, just outside of Cincinnati. And he was down there. He had taught a couple classes, and he was kind of hanging there and helping Jamie Geyer get the blacksmith shop set up there more. So he was just hanging out there, and so he was there during one of my classes while I was there, and so I got to spend an extensive amount of time with him while I was down there, and it just kind of reaffirmed exactly my opinion on that. Brian Brazil's method is a whole entire method. It's a complete method. So it's not it. He has a certain type of ironwork that he produces, and he has found the most efficient way for him to go about getting that ironwork produced. So, a lot of his stuff, he likes to draw a lot of things out, by hand with a hand hammer, and so he has to, by and large, he has to become his own power hammer at that point in time.
Which is more detailed.
He has bigger hammers for working larger diameter stock, and he has smaller hammers that he uses on the daily, which is more right around the 3-pound mark, like Rob Huff was saying earlier. So that's kind of like his daily driver is about a 3-pound hammer. He will use larger hammers if he's doing larger work, larger stock and stuff. But again, his whole methodology, it's an entire method. And what happens, unfortunately, is we see that we do the monkey see, monkey do, but without the understanding, because we never took in a class with him, of what his entire method entails, how he holds his hammer exactly, why he's doing a certain thing with the hammer.
See it on video,
and
or if you just
see it on video
about it,
Yep.
I see what you're saying.
Or you're just parroting, or if you're just parroting someone else who parroted Brian, so now you're thrice removed here, right, from the situation. What happens is you start developing bad habits. You say, okay, well, larger hammer's the way to go, because look, this guy gets a lot of work done with a massive club of a hammer. That's a problem with any smithing. Same thing. You can injure yourself with a lightweight hammer and a long hammer handle. You can be death knuckling it, just gripping that thing to no ends to try to control this thing because you feel like you don't have any accuracy because you got a 2-foot long handle on the thing. So.
When I first started, I got 2 hammers from Home Depot. I got the 3-pound drilling hammer and the 4-pound cross peen engineer's hammer. And I thought that that's how you forge. And I watched you and smiths like you holding it at the end and swinging it like that. So that's how I thought that you had to do it. Even if you had a larger, I didn't realize that there was a different kind of way to do it with a larger hammer. So if any of you guys that have been around my channel long enough remember, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, for about 6 to 8 months, I had a brace on my arm because I blew out my tendons. And yeah, that's a day. If I didn't have the intestinal fortitude to keep going, that's something that would have put me off of smithing. Like to take a quick moment and say, good morning, Nidavellir. You wanted to jump in the stream last night, and I wanted to say your name last night, but you weren't there. And another person popped in, Alex Hannerman. How you doing? But yeah.
One other thing I'd like to say about that too, for everyone who's watching, who's just getting started, there's quite a bit of dogma around particular smiths you see online, like as if their technique, their particular thing is right versus someone else's is wrong. That right-wrong thing is seldom the truth. Okay, what you'll see is you'll see someone who has developed a technique or a personal style over decades of forging. So that's personal to them. It's almost like a thumb. It's almost like a fingerprint. Okay, it's part of their identity in the forge, and so those people get real insulted if you come at them with it. Their technique is completely hogwash, right? Because it's just as much a part of them and their smithing identity and their journey as their ironwork is. And so we got to be real careful about that. Now, I'll admit on my first go round of videos about, hammers being too big and things like that, and why I don't use rounding hammers. And oh man, the amount of commentary I've gotten on those videos is just interesting. I didn't handle it with as much tact as I would now, I wouldn't say, but that's because I was constantly getting insulted. I was getting berated to the point of making a video, which you should never do out of an emotional state. But I was getting berated to the point of like, oh, well, you're not a real smith, or you don't really know what you're doing unless you're using a rounding hammer. Have you heard of Brian Brazil? No, his methods are the best. And I'm like, no, they're not. Because before Brian Brazil, and these rounding hammers were a fad, it was the Hoffy hammer was a fad. Most people on YouTube right now have no clue who Uri Hoffy is, or they've only heard of Uri Hoffy through other channels or sources. But I'm part of that OG blacksmiths that were around when that was a whole fad, and you were not a real blacksmith unless you had a Uri Hoffy hammer in your hand, and you were using the Hoffy technique. And it was just as controversial as the rounding hammer is.
On the rounding hammer, I actually, my daily driver is a rounding hammer. And me and you, Roy, have had many discussions, sometimes, like, hey, I got to cut this off and go to bed because I got to be at work in a couple of hours, about like stuff like this. I admittedly use a rounding hammer for two reasons. Number one, it's because it's what I've been using, and as you spoke on earlier, and as everybody here knows, you develop your own personal identity with your style. I do have a cross peen that is 1 pound 3/4, but I messed up the face on it, so it deflects when I hit. So what I'll probably do at some point is make myself a 2 pound or less, 2 pound cross peen with, me and you had discussed the planishing face, instead of being flat in the center, and then having rounded edges, being completely like low radius domed, which I find I love as a planishing side. I will probably do that, because the other reason that I use the rounding hammer is it's immediately identifiable as that is a blacksmith's hammer, but yeah, I find myself barely using the rounding side the way the rounding side should be used, and more just using the planishing side. So in my mind, why not switch to a cross peen and, test out the Roy Adams method,
Yeah, I want to answer something on Keith whatever.
Yes.
Triforge Creations there. I just seen a message come up. Thoughts on Black Bear Forge's angle peen hammer. And that's another interesting thing. See, that was the previous fad to the Hoffy hammer. It was the diagonal peen. That was like a whole thing. It was. You'd seen it in every booth at Quad State. Everyone had. It was hard to get a cross peen hammer. Everything was diagonal.
I do like a diagonal peen though. I have a double diagonal that I made. I really do like it. It's not an everyday thing. It's when you're working on something that dang it, I need to be at comfortable angle for this angle for an extended period of time. It's really nice to have that, in your. So
a good So a good thing, I guess this is a good way of pointing this out, is so what is your approach to your work. What is it that you're doing a lot of, right? So if you need your peen to be in line with the material, right? You need it to be parallel with the material because you're doing a lot of spreading of material. A diagonal peen is going to be great for you.
Oh.
As long as it's set up for the right way, the left or right hand, because there's left-handed diagonal peens and there are right-handed diagonal peens. So it's going to be set up in a correct orientation for you, right? Versus like a straight peen. A straight peen is going to have a different effect on your work, and it just depends on what you're actually using, said hammer for and how you're using it. Hammers are just tools, and you can think of them as like top tools, really. I mean, they're like glorified top tools. You can have hammers with smaller faces. You can have hammers with broader faces. You can have hammers with square faces, octagonal, round, domed, perfectly flat. You can have them in all different, shapes and styles. And really, what it does is it's a reflection. What you gravitate to, it's a reflection of the type of work that you do and the type of products that you produce. Because where my hammer works great because it's a square body hammer, right? It works great at getting into tight shoulders, but I use a lot of shouldering in my work. I use a lot of bosses. I use a lot of offsets and a lot of things like that in my regular work that I do. I'm drawing tenons down at the anvil by hand, right? That square body is perfect for that. But there's other times where I need to produce like more organic curvatures. A rounding hammer would be perfect for that because I need to get on the inside of a curve to put a bevel.
Which I was going to say, yeah.
Which case I do have a rounding hammer on hand for that.
At this point, I don't have that nice, sleek, square body hammer like you have, and I have been doing a few projects where, you know what, that would really come in handy. So that's another hammer that I kind of need to make for myself. It is a nice, sleek, and what I'll probably end up doing, Roy, is when I do make the 2-pound cross peen for myself, not doing fullers on it and just doing the flat faces, the flat sides. I'd like to take a moment and say hello to Anson Ivy and Ignis. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And I did just realize I was reading some of the chat that I just really wasn't, it wasn't clicking. They're all talking about my hat. And it is SA company. And no, I did not buy into this fad because of the current climate of everything. I have had probably 30 different, of these for the past 15 years. I've been rocking SA headgear since, I first moved down to Key West, because it's perfect kitchen headwear, and it's perfect, it's perfect headwear for, hot climates and hot temperatures.
Hey, Thomas, you're the OG bandana wearer. That's what you are. You're the OG pirate.
Not to pull away from blacksmithing and topics at hand, but it's one of my bugaboos because it's like I'll go out and about wearing these, and when I'm asked to put on a mask, I just pull it down, and it's like everybody, oh, that's nice, where'd you get? Oh, they start talking about all the sales that these companies have on. Oh, that's really nice, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, this one here is probably about 20 years old, and they're like, they're like, who wore those before COVID? It's like, this guy.
Yamez did. Yamez did.
I am not a fad jumper. I have been wearing these for decades. I have actually, if you guys remember a while back, again, not to go back off of blacksmithing, probably, 2000 to 2010, roughly, that decade, it was really big in style, like, for whatever reason, to wear torn jeans, a t-shirt, and then like a ratty coat. I guess it's called the hobo look. It was like in style and chic to wear that. But that's the way I dress.
I was doing that because
that's
I was
the way
broke.
I dress. You know, and back then I always said, you know what, one of these days, all you guys that make fun of me for wearing ratty clothes, not you guys, but, you know, all those people that are making fun of me for wearing ratty clothes, I have a funny story about that. Um, you know, are going to eat their words because I jokingly would say, my style's going to come in, you know, and sure enough, it did. I mean, I remember, this was like 25 years ago or so. I was, I was sitting outside a grocery store. I was waiting for my buddy to get off of work. He worked at a grocery store. Well, we all did back in those days. And I was sitting outside his grocery store. I had stopped at a Chinese place to grab some dinner, and we were getting ready to go out bowling or do something whatever we did. And I'm sitting there, you know, wearing, you know, it's November in Chicago. I'm wearing, you know, work boots, ratty old work boots, you know, torn jeans with a pair of flannel pants on underneath them. You know, I've got, you know, my T-shirt on. I had just gotten off work. I think I had like 3 or 4 coats on and a hat. And, you know, it's like this lady and her young little daughter, you know, walked out, you know, because the bench was like right there by the exit, walked out, and the little girl said to, Mommy, why is that man eating his dinner outside a grocery store, outside the store? And without skipping a beat, the mom turned to the daughter and she goes, well, some people aren't fortunate enough to have homes where they can sit and eat dinner at home. I was like, what? And she just took off running. I'm like, yeah, this looks going to come back, lady. This looks going to come back. And sure enough, it did. So I've been confused with a homeless person before.
Were you carrying around a box with you as you walk down the street? Were you selling the look completely
Oh,
ensemble?
you know, it's like, I know that's not really have anything to do with anything, but, you know, to go on that little rant, never make some fun of somebody for the way they look, because they probably have a reason. My reason was that, you know what,
Yeah.
I've been an electrician for so long, and back then it's like we did a lot of outside jobs in the winter, and in Chicago, especially that year, it had gotten, you know, bitter cold. It was like negative 40 by freaking November that year. And, you know, so it was bitter cold. And what you do, you wear 2 or 3 pairs of pants, 3 or 4 pairs of socks, 2 or 3 T-shirts, and you just layer on your coats, you know, because if you go inside a house, you know, for work, you got to take some of that off, you know, instead of being, oh, I'm wearing a
I
sweater.
tell you what. That's a good point about that. You know, never assume that you know anything about anyone just because. Like I've got a funny story about that. There was a guy that came. I was actually teaching. I was
Troy.
doing I was conference demonstrator at RABA, and I was demonstrating, and there was a guy who come walking up, and I think all blacksmiths to a degree wear pretty ratty clothing, and if they're not ratty to
They
begin with, they
become
end up
ready.
becoming ratty after a while, right? And we don't change them out because we're too busy concerned with our ironwork and not really concerned about our personal health or appearance. And so this one guy, you know, you would never know it, but he has a full-time ornamental shop. He does work for Hollywood celebrities. He was at this rabbit event, and uh, yeah, like he's got 60 employees. And if you looked at him, he looked like you, Yames. No offense, but he just looked like you.
I
It was
rock
just
the
like
homeless
an
look.
average, ordinary, kind of ruffian look. You know what I mean? Just like most blacksmiths. We're just along that breed. So it's funny that, you know, when you go around to different places, and I've been like that too. I mean, people think I might live high on the hog, but I don't. I live well below my means, and like I'm wearing a pair of pants that I've had for 4
Oh yeah.
years. So, and they've got holes in them, and they're on their last leg, and eventually when I rip a hole so big in them that I can't cover it up with the, you know, my leather trousers there, for the camera, I'll unfortunately I will have to go buy a new pair of pants. But you know, you would never know talking to just some people sometimes, like what
Yeah.
they have going on. Again, this guy has $1 million plus blacksmithing business,
I've been known to use wire for
and you would
shoelaces and belts.
yeah. Whatever gets the boots back together, right? So you can continue to do your
Mm-hmm.
job, right? And then and then you think to yourself, oh, you know what? The wire's not half bad. It's working
Yeah.
out.
I'd like to say hey to Eli Roush. He popped in. That's Troy Bar and Forges. Little boy. Little boy.
Hey.
What's up?
Yeah. Emphasis on little
Love
there.
you. Love you, Eli.
We're just going to start calling him
Yeah.
Tiny.
But yeah, yeah, and that brings up that I love how that, like, my fashion rant turned right back into blacksmithing, and it goes
Yeah.
into what you and Black Bear and so many blacksmiths preach, is I lost my train of thought. I saw a comment that said Big Amish, and I'm like, it just popped my brain. Topic along the lines of, it's like, when it, dang it. All right. Yeah, it kind of goes into the,
Roy and Daisy Dukes. There we go.
I don't know. I lost it. Lost it. Ain't gonna try and pick that one back up.
Oh man.
All right. Next topic.
Yeah.
Next
topic. What are you using for your beard cream?
Drayson's patented beard balm. I'm rocking that right now. Yes.
There you go. I need to get me some of that.
Yeah, especially if you're growing a beard.
Yeah. I'm actually trying. I'm going to get you uncomfortably close. This is bad Skype etiquette or YouTube etiquette. I'm trying to grow out the mustache.
He's getting to the point where he can do the twirl.
Oh.
The mwah, 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 mwah.
But we'll see.
I use.
I'm working on it. It's going to take a while.
Egg whites and egg yolks to keep mine. But best clothing advice for a blacksmith I ever got was not wear synthetics and to absolutely wear steel toe. I've been wearing steel toed boots for so long. It was weird when I moved to the Keys and switched over to Crocs and sandals, flip flops, to not be wearing steel toes. And then I was there for so long that when I got back out of the Keys and went back to steel toe boots, it was weird for me. But I can't see wearing anything other than steel toes. Especially if I'm doing work, around the yard in the shop, at work. If I'm lounging and about, I'll go barefoot or flip flops. But
yeah, that's another great point about footwear. You have to think that footwear is down low. You may think you have quick feet, but I have been in situations before where I've dropped or had like a hammer billet dropped on my foot, right? And I was thankful that I had a leather boot on. And there's a reason why people say that, like, oh, you're just trying to, you're just being a safety Nazi or things like that. But the fun thing about synthetics is when they catch fire, they melt into a goo, like a hot wax, or if you will, like really hot. If you watch plastic bags melt, that's what synthetics do. And when they do that and they burn onto your skin, when you go to pull them off your skin, it pulls the skin right along with it. The skin disappears too. And then that leaves you a nice big open fleshy burn that can get infected and everything else. And so that's why blacksmiths have been using aprons for a long time, or synthetics, or all 100% cotton type stuff. For that,
I do know that
including
if I wear my apron 95% of the time, if I know that I'm going to be in the shop and not wearing the apron for whatever reason, I make sure that I'm not wearing anything synthetic. But my apron coat goes down to my past my knees, so it's not a problem for me. The only issue I have when I'm wearing shorts is and is the occasional, scale popping into my shoe, which is annoying, but whatever. That's what the slack tub's there for.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I had that. I once wore a. I don't even know what it was. I don't know what it was made of. I think it was a polyester windbreaker while forging once, and luckily it didn't burn me. But I had a piece of steel pop off the anvil. I was trying to chisel on it, and I hit it wrong, and it kind of flipped up and landed on my forearm. And when it landed on my forearm, I was able to shake it off real quick, but it kind of had already melted the plastic, melted that
be
that
safe, Eric.
synthetic down to the actual skin, and then it pulled all the hairs off when I
Yeah.
took the jacket off because it had melted it into the hairs
Yeah.
on my arm. I had just got lucky enough to catch it before it burnt too far and had adhered that to my arm. And after that, I pledged I would never wear synthetics again in the shop. So, but everybody's got to try it at least once.
I've had,
go for it. Wear
I
rubber
worked in
boots.
kitchens for the better part of a decade, and you know what? I'll tell you, I've been burned bad in the forge, but nothing compares to some of the burns that I got working the line. Several of them due to pranks from the other kitchen workers. Like, hey, grab me that pan real quick. No thinking, grab.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had this entire part of my hand, probably 2 inches wide, and the entire thing, and then the tips of these fingers seared off to where there was no skin, like injured bad, because of a hot pan. And I don't know what it is about forging. I know that the metal is thousands of times hotter than a hot pan, but when you're dealing with that much metal, as long as you keep your brain, you're focused more on that, on the heat and where everything is, than in the kitchen where you're thinking 10 or 20 different things are in your mind at the same time. When you're at the anvil, you're focused on the hot work. So in that aspect, as long as you keep your wits about you and do everything you can to keep the accidents to a minimum and protect yourself when there are accidents, you should be fine. I only consider it dangerous if you're dumb about everything.
Yeah, which that also brings in a great thing, on safety. Brings up another great topic
Morning,
on safety in the forge. There's a lot of caveat to things, right? But when it comes to safety, where one thing will work and other times it won't. Synthetics is not one of those caveats. It's been proven time and time again by removed flesh that it's not something you want to wear in the forge. Of course you can if you want to, if that's where you like to go. One of those things. There's another one, like don't wear loose fitting clothing around spinning machinery. It sucks you in, right? That's, again, there's not really any caveats to that. One caveat that I can think of is like glove wearing, right? Wearing gloves. I wear tight fitting, like the type that Velcro strap onto your wrist gloves when I'm polishing copper. And the reason why is that copper gets hot enough to fry an egg on when you're polishing it. So you can't not wear gloves and polish copper.
If you're wearing
But
something tight.
there again, that's one of those. Yeah, it's tight. See, that's the caveat. So, if you have a loose glove, like a welder's glove or a mitt, that's got like really loose, like a loose band around the wrist and stuff, now you're asking for trouble because that's something that can get snagged and pulled in versus a tight fitting glove that has a really tight collar around your wrist. There's not a danger of, your hands being any more introduced to being pulled into the machinery. So, it's one of those things in your own shop. You do have to use a bit of common sense and think, what is the risk to reward benefit here? And because what we do as blacksmiths is inherently dangerous, and it can be deadly. either long-term deadly for us or short-term if we get too complacent around
Yes.
machinery. So it's like it's always that risk to
That's
reward balance that you have
that's
to look
why I
for.
say, it's like nothing is dangerous as long as you adhere to the cautions and or the precautions and the safety measures. I mean, people swim with great white sharks free swimming. I would not ever, 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 ever. But as long as they're safe about it, and they know what they're doing, sure, the danger is there, but it's minimized. Anytime you do something dangerous, you do everything you can to reduce the risk. And the handful of people that I see arguing, or, oh, here comes the safety police, blah, blah. It's like, sure, think that way. You may have been doing this, 20 years and you never worn eyeglasses, but the one time where you get a piece of grit or something, scale popping in your eye, you know what? If the risk versus reward, you have the money
Yeah.
to go to the eye doctor and get that fixed right away, more power to you,
Yeah. Well, just give you an idea on that too as well. People think about the eyeglass argument. Okay, my eyeglasses because I work every day in the forge. They get destroyed after about
Yeah.
2 months, and that's from little particles that popped out of the fire and hit right around my eyeballs area. And I don't like to go through life squinting at everything
Yeah.
I do. I like to have full eyes open and seeing
As opposed
seeing
to the
what I
French
do.
Stewart look.
But it's different. So so say if you're grinding on something, you're getting dust, you're getting debris coming off, and debris can be plucked from eyeballs. Scale that has melted itself to your cornea
Cannot.
or to your pupil cannot. That's not getting repaired. You're blind. That's it. That eye's gone. They're not going to laser fix it for you. And so that's one of those arguments about, you know, eyeglasses. Use them or don't. Well, the old Smiths didn't use them. They didn't have
Yeah.
a choice.
I tell you, though.
If they weren't wearing regular glasses because they needed them, right, to see things, they might have needed glasses after a while because it wasn't a choice. It wasn't something that back in 1910 people, human beings were expendable. In
That's why
1910
families
in a
have like
workplace.
12 kids,
So
you know, because,
mhm.
you're battling the odds.
You're going to lose 9 of them,
Exactly.
right? I mean, so yeah, I see that all the time. Usually with safety arguments around stuff like that, is you'll see stuff like you'll see that classic picture, bunch of dudes standing around a big glowing piece of iron with nothing but
Overalls on.
sleeve shirts on, and look like they're in sandals or whatever, right? Like they're just that old timey. They're like, yeah, back when real men were men, and every one of those dudes were dead by the age of
Yeah.
35.
Yeah.
So it's like, no thanks. I just won't be a real man, and I'll live until I'm 80 or 90. Thank you very much. But it's like, yeah, the whole safety thing. You can't use no safety practices of the 1900s, which those guys would have loved. Like, hey boss, can I get like a face mask to, so this way I'm not inhaling all this nasty fumes that are coming. Like, get to work or we'll find someone
Okay.
else. That's what they got in
All right.
1910.
I know it's after 11, but I want to take one more question that I saw pop up. Um,
Yeah.
yes, Troy, I am beyond life expectancy, as we all are. Dan Boyle said he's got 2 thoughts on steel toes, and I'm assuming this is a question, but it's a good quick topic. 2 thoughts on steel toes: laced up to prevent hot scale entry, or wear them unlaced so that you can kick them off when the scale goes in. Now, there's pretty much hey Gladys, there is pretty much 2 schools of thought. Wear something loose that you can kick off. If it's loose, then you get better chance of scale getting in. The best, safest way, is to wear long pants that go over um, the tops of the boots, so that there is zero chance of scale falling in there. if you're wearing shorts, as many of us do, especially in the summer, the best bet would be to tighten those things up. And you know what? My boots tighten up enough to where if I do get scale, it doesn't go down in there. It just hits the top of the sock. And then, I start feeling it and I can, kind of flick it off or push it, take my fingers are more callous than my ankles, take it and push it against the side of the boot to, burn it to the side of the boot instead of my skin, but typically keep them tight to keep scale from popping in there, because, in my opinion, a lot, when you get injured in a dangerous environment, 90% of your mind has to be not reacting, okay, to prevent further injury, If you're holding, a billet of steel, of red hot steel, and, or hotter, and you get hurt on your foot and you start dancing around, that increases the chances of you like dancing around and smacking yourself in the face with that billet, or dropping it onto something that it should be dropped on, or this, that, or the other thing. So you really have to do everything you can to not react when you get hurt. And knowing what to do immediately when something does happen helps with that. What I do if I get scale in my boot, I stick my finger in there and push it against the side of the boot, instead of, letting it burn my skin. Your thoughts, Roy, on laced versus unlaced?
Well, I'll use a diaper analogy. Would you like a diaper tightened up just in case something happens, or would you like it loose so you can shed it just in case something happens?
True.
I'd like the diaper tightened up. Oh, if you have a loose boot, if you have a loose boot top, it's gaping open. You're just inviting more things. It's more of a funnel. Regardless whether you can flick it off or not, you might as well wear sandals or something like that. The best thing is the preventative right out from the start is to, stop things from going in. Now I'm a person, even when I lived in Ohio and it was like 100 plus degrees, I still wore pants and only pants in the porch. It's part of my work outfit. It just is. You're going to get sweaty. Oh well, it's kind of part of life with it, and it's the trade-off, right? Like, so if you're okay with things burning your ankles, don't wear pants over the top of your boot tops. I've seen guys wear very loose, like 2 strings maybe, two little cross hatches in their boot just to hold it on their foot, right? And just seen them constantly jittering their feet around as they're getting the forging scale and other stuff falling down inside their, inside their boots. So I'm a stickler when it comes to that. I'd say tight boots and wear your pants tops over the top of them. Now I have loose boots because they're pull-ons. I don't actually have strings because I got tired of my strings burning off.
Right.
By catching hot steel on the foot and the strings burn up, and then I have to go buy me a new pair of strings. So I got regular like leather boots that you can just pull on, and those I make darn good and sure, because they've got a big 1/2-inch gap around the top of my leg. I make darn good and sure that I have my pants legs pulled down.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's the safest bet, is long pants over your boots. I hate tripping over my boots, so I would never walk around. Heck, if I'm just going out to bring trash out to the dumpster, and I put my boots, if I don't have my sandals nearby, I lace up and tie my boots, even if they're only going to be on for 5 minutes. I hate tripping them over them. But with that, guys,
Mm-hmm.
we went about 15 minutes over it, par for the course when I have a guest. So, would like to say hello to everybody who popped in that I didn't get a chance to say hello to. Mr. Michael Hayes. I saw DB. Bill Corey popped in. Hi to all of you guys. Red Wiener Carolina. I buy Walmart brand. I would like, everybody give Roy here a round of applause for being brave and showing his face on camera for the first time ever. Give him a thanks. And I want to thank all of you guys for the excellent questions, the excellent chat. I love this community. Call it community theater. I love this. I love the community. I love, the way it works out. So yeah, thank you, Roy, for being a part of the stream and help making the community a better place. And for
very welcome, Yamas. Thank you for having me.
Everything you do in the community does not go unnoticed by the community or others. I'll say that.
Good.
And I'm not going to take any more questions, but do you have any closing thoughts on the community theater? Thank you for the $5 super chat, Mr. Phillips.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Phillips, for supporting Yamez. So thank you, everybody, for actually coming over here, hanging out with Yamez, hanging out with me on a Sunday and taking time to do that. Thank you, everyone, for all of your support. Jess and I, we get just tons of your community support on the constant, and I'm glad to come over here on Yamez's channel. I'm friends with Yamez and do this anytime, so that I got a chance. And my regular church is canceled, so I wouldn't mind coming back. So thanks, Yamez, for having me, and thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your day.
Anytime, and like I say to all of you guys out there as well, and this goes to Roy, this goes to Tim, this goes to whoever. If you would like to be on the show, even if it's just for a quick call-in, on my Sundays I have my Skype open, and I believe my Skype information is in the description of this video, of my Sunday videos. All you have to do is send me a chat, hey, can I be on? And I toss you on. I'll take a call if you just want to pop in and say hi, or if you want to do like Mr. Roberts did, or Mr. Robinette did last week, say, hey, I'm such and such forge, such and such person, here's my shop, thank you for having me. This is a community show, so I'm thrilled, pleased to peaches to have Roy pop in and say hi and hang out with us, and I would be thrilled to have any of you guys pop in and say hi. Thank you guys all for your support. Thank you all for your participation in the community.
Yeah. And everybody have a happy Thanksgiving as well.
Happy Thanksgiving, and for Roy, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
And a happy New Year.
But yes, we are going to go ahead and get out of here and start making fun of you guys. No, we're not going to make fun of you guys. I'm just kidding. All right, guys. That will mark the. I do need to come up with some sort of a good night fire for that just takes up time. Thank you all, and to all, have a great Sunday. Put your eyeglasses on and your eye protection on, and get out and create something awesome on this awesome Sunday. Awesome. I'll say awesome 1,000 times.
Yep.
All right. Bye, guys. Thanks, Roy. I'll see you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Take care.